Okay, now, an example like this. Like I just said, instead of adding the exponents, we need to be multiplying our exponents. Because, as you can see up top, these are being raised to another power, okay? First of all, it's being squared, then it's being raised to the third power, then that's being raised to the second power. Now, the best way to go at this thing is to handle the innermost, really, power, or exponent, all right? So first off, we got 2 to the third. Okay? What is that going to give you? 2 times 2 times 2. It's going to give you 8. Good job, David. So this gives us 8. All I'm doing is tackling that innermost parentheses. That innermost, really, problem right there, which is 2 to the third. Okay? Now, let's handle the next number that's closest to the middle, which is what? 3, yeah. So this is going to be raised, so we're going to have 8 raised to the third power. What is that going to be? Someone type that in. It's going to be 64 times 8. That's a big number. Okay, so that gives you 512. Okay? So what are we going to do to 512? Yeah, we're going to square that. What is it? To begin with, instead of adding our exponents, we're going to multiply our exponents. Okay? So, essentially, Zach, turn around, please. Zach. Essentially, you're going to be multiplying these exponents, okay? So you would multiply 3 times 3 times 3. So you'd have 2 to the third. Let me write this below this, sorry. So we got 2 to the third times 3, which gives you 2 to the ninth. And then we have a square out there. So then we need to multiply that times 2. So then you get 2 to the 18th. Yes. Okay. Now, for this one, same process. Okay? Because these are being raised to a power, we got 4 squared. It's being raised to the second power, then it's being raised again to the third power. All you're going to do is multiply those exponents. Okay? So then you're going to have, we got 2 times 2. So that's going to be 4 to the 4th. Okay? I went 2 times 2, that's going to be 4 to the 4th. And then I have that raised to the third power. So I'm going to multiply that times 3. And that's going to give you 4 to the 12th. Now, you could actually write down the number, or you could just leave it like that. That'd be fine. There, okay? Yeah. So I'm going to write down my first term. I'm going to write that whole thing down to the side over here. Right below it, I'm going to write it. Okay? So I got... Alright? And then I'm going to these numbers are being multiplied by each other. So I'm going to write down the other number. Now the other number is a little bit easier to see. Actually, it's a lot easier to see. Okay? Now I have recognized that I have 2 numbers being multiplied by each other right here. Okay? Now, we just use our laws of power of the power and then multiplying your powers right here. And you just simplify your answer. Okay? You're just simplifying. So, let's tackle the first one. Remember, always handle the innermost parentheses. Okay? Always do that. Okay? Always handle the innermost parentheses. You need to be able to recognize that. These numbers are being squared. Okay, so that's what we have to tackle first. Now remember, you need to multiply it by each number. Okay? So what's going to happen is we're going to have 8 squared. Okay, because I multiplied the 2 times, really that's raised to the first power. Okay, so 2 times 1 is going to give you 8 squared. What's going to happen to G? What's that going to be?
It's going to be 8.
Well?
H, A, G, A. No, G, 6.
6.
I was looking at 8.
Okay?
And then 8.
So G, all I did was multiply 3 times 2. H is going to be what? 8. Good. Okay? Now we've tackled that innermost parentheses right there. We still got a square left. So do the same process. Okay? Multiply each term by 2. Because it's being raised to a power. So what's 8 going to be? 8 to the 4th. G to the what?
12.
Good. H to the what?
16.
Good. Did everybody see how we got that? Okay, now let's solve this second one. Or let's simplify the second one. All right? Same process, but we got a 4. It's being raised to the 4th power. So we need to multiply each number by 4. I'm sorry, each exponent by 4. Not each number. Okay? So what's 2 going to be?
You got 4.
Good. What's G going to be?
4.
Good. What's H going to be? 20. Okay? Now, remember to begin with, we recognize that these numbers are being multiplied by each other. Okay? So, what are we going to do to our exponents? We're going to add them. So I'm gonna write down this number beside of it. Just gonna drop this down. Now let's actually get a solid number here. Let's go 8 to the 4th. Someone type that in, and then 2 to the 4th.
4,096.
4,096. Did you multiply? So you went 8 to the 4th. 2 to the 4th is 16. My bad. Okay? So I just simplified these numbers right here, these coefficients. Okay? Now, what's that multiplied by each other? 536?
Yeah.
Okay? Now we've tackled the big number. Now, if you remember correctly, what are we going to do to our exponents? Are we going to add or multiply now? These two numbers are being multiplied by each other. Okay? They're being multiplied by each other. They're not being raised to another power. So, we're going to add our exponents. Alright? So you're going to get, if you add your exponents, you're going to get G to the what?
16.
Good. All we're doing is adding 12 plus 4. And then H is going to be what?
36.
Okay? So you need to be able to recognize you're dealing with two different numbers right here. And they're being multiplied by each other. Alright? So now, let's go ahead and simplify the innermost parentheses. Let's start with the first number. Okay? So I have, that number's being squared right there. Harley, thank you. So I'm going to multiply each of those terms by 2. Now, it's not going to be, whenever you do this, it's a common mistake, you're not going to multiply 2 times 2. I know this is going to be the same thing to begin with, but makes sense. You're going to raise that to the second power. You're going to multiply the exponents. Okay? So what's C going to be? What's C going to be? 4. What's D going to be?
6.
Good. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is being raised to the third power. So what are we going to do to our exponents? We're going to multiply them. So that's going to be 2 to the what?
6.
Good. C to the what?
8. 12.
Well, 4 times 3 will give you 12.
Oh, right.
Okay. And then D is going to be what?
18.
18. Okay. Now, this is completely simplified. Well, we could multiply 2 to the 6, but don't worry about that yet. You don't need to worry about that yet. So now, let's handle the second one. We just figured out, what are we going to do to our exponents? We're going to multiply them. I'm going to go 3 to the third. C to the what?
14.
C to the what?
15.
15. And then D to the what?
6.
Good. Okay. Now we have our two numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down, just bring it down one more. Make sure you're checking your work, see if you got this so far. All right. Now from here, I'm multiplying these terms. I'm not squaring these. So I'm not going to multiply the exponents. I'm going to add my exponents. Okay? But first off, let's go ahead and simplify these two numbers. So what's 2 to the 6? 2 to the 6.
64.
Okay? What's 3 to the third?
27.
Okay? Okay. All right. Now these numbers are being multiplied by each other. So what's 64 times 27?
1,720.
Wait, what?
Whatever.
Did you guess that?
It's
Did you say 64 times
728.
27?
728.
1,728. There you go.
1,728.
How you know calculator?
Okay. Now let's handle our variables and our exponents. What's going to happen to C? Are we going to add that 12 to 15, or are we going to multiply 12 times 15? We're going to add them. So that's going to give you what?
C to the 27.
Good. D to the what?
12. 12.
Well, once you add, if you add 18 plus 6,
Oh, my bad.
you're going to end up with what?
24.
24. Okay. If you have like bases, you can subtract your exponents if they're being divided. Okay. So to simplify this, I'm going to subtract x to the 7th after Dakota gets back. Minus 6. Okay. Hold on one second.
So it could just be X.
Then I'm going to have y to the 12th minus what? Minus what? 12 minus what?
Yeah, because that's the answer. 3.
3. TJ, hush. Guys, hush. Dylan, hush.
That probably been. That probably been enough.
Now, whenever you have this, TJ, hush. This will leave you with x to the first, which is essentially just x. And then you have y to the 12th minus 3. What's that going to be? 12 minus 3. That's it.